Reborn in 1987, the U.S. stock market crash. Chang'an shorted the U.S. stock market and made a huge profit of $3.3 billion. That year, young me was still a baby under 3 years old. It's okay, I really enjoy developing games. Tianxian, Shishi, Reba, and Jinmai can all be gradually cultivated. Foxconn abuses workers. Okay, will Apple phones no longer be produced at Foxconn in the future? Why do you ask me? Because I am the largest individual shareholder of Apple. Will the lithography machine not be sold to Huaxia anymore? It doesn't matter, you don't think I don't have a lithography machine, do you? Eagle sauce, are you going to punish me? Are you sure? It's not certain which one of us will sanction the other. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Short-selling U.S. stocks, opening with $3 billion. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1. Short-selling U.S. stocks, opening with $3 billion. In 1987, Emperor of the United States, Li Chang'an is looking at the big screen in front of him. What I see is a large red area, as red as blood. The New York stock market on Wall Street sparked a wave of stock crashes, the largest in history, with the Dow Jones Index plummeting 508.32 points in a single day, a decline of 22.6%, setting a record for the highest daily decline since 1941. Within 6.5 hours, the New York Stock Index lost $500 billion, which is equivalent to 1/8 of the U.S. Emperor's annual gross domestic product. Boss, we've made a lot of money. We've made a lot of money. At this moment, there is a white man in a suit in front of Chang'an, and his name is Jeffrey. Watching the sharp drop in the Dow Jones Index, he felt his blood burning wildly all over his body. He excitedly grabbed Chang'an's shoulder and said, we will become billionaires. Chang'an's pupils also showed an excited glow. Not bad, really good. Starting from 9 a.m., the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 67 points at the opening. Then, in the blink of an eye, selling prices surged. Under the pressure of the surging sell-offs, the screen flipped up. All the red stocks, falling, and no green waves, rising, were visible. Prior to this, Chang'an repeatedly invested $300 million into the exchange, adding nearly 20 times more leverage. From 9:30 a.m. to 11 o'clock, the Dow Jones Industrial Average continued to decline, and no one knew how to curb the worsening situation. Although some people have suggested closing the market, no one dares to make a decision. The new U.S. Stock Exchange is concerned about Wall Street's role as a barometer in global stock markets and has to persevere desperately. However, the more persistent one is, the more they slide towards the abyss. Jeffrey, you're hurting me. Chang'an's body trembled slightly, and Jeffrey suddenly felt his hands numb. He couldn't help but let go of his own hands. Boss, is this your Chinese martial arts? Jeffrey rubbed his slightly sour palm and said, this is just Thai pants. A little trick, just a little trick. Chang'an smiled and said, Jeffrey, can you calculate our current profit? After deducting enough taxes, what is the approximate final profit for us? Jeffrey said, my dear boss, I think we need time. Also, should we withdraw now? I think the Dow Jones Index will continue to plummet in the future. Chang'an shrugged and slowly spoke, enough, Jeffrey, you have to trust the U.S. Emperor, trust your country. I believe that Wall Street will soon return to normal. At this point, what we need to do is stop seeing the good. Jeffrey quickly nodded and said, understood, I'll withdraw in batches now. Chang'an nodded. Looking at the crimson stock market, I also took a deep breath. It has been 3 years since I was reborn. With his rebirth and foresight, Chang'an quickly accumulated some capital. Not long ago, he invested all the capital he had accumulated in the past 3 years into the U.S. Emperor's stock market, fiercely short-selling. He was well aware of how terrifying the energy of this US stock market explosion would be. The US emperor lost 500 billion US dollars, and it is not a problem to take advantage of this opportunity to earn a large sum from him. As he thought about it, Li Chang'an stretched his muscles slightly, and he could clearly feel a faint airflow slowly flowing through his body. This is the benefit of being reborn. Before his rebirth, he was hit by a lightning bolt. Subsequently, he was reborn in 1984. 3 years ago, he secured a valuable study abroad spot. During these 3 years, Li Chang'an felt a lightning-shaped airflow running in his body, following his own thoughts. If it reached his brain, his learning speed would greatly accelerate. If you reach your feet, your running speed will increase. Arriving at one's own hands will greatly unleash one's attacking power. As for how to increase this airflow, it's simple. Exercise daily, maintain self-discipline, and exercise regularly. Li Chang'an clearly felt the power of this airflow. This also allows him to clearly remember the information he has seen in his past life, even if it is just a glance. Secondly, it is his ability to learn in this time and space. During his 3-year study abroad at Emperor America, he mainly studied optics and computer science, and his learning speed cannot be underestimated. Now, he has obtained a doctoral degree. Boss. At this moment, Jeffrey on one side spoke quickly, "It's calculated, it's calculated." Li Chang'an slowly opened his eyes and said, "So, how much did you earn?" Jeffrey gestured 3 fingers and spoke excitedly, $33,060.4 million. $3.664 billion, from $3.3 billion in 1987. Grass Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Is still Angelina and Julie of Little Loli. You are listening at novel full.audio. Chapter 2 is still Angelina and Julie of Little Loli. $3.3 billion if placed in China, this is definitely the richest person in the country. Even in the United States, I am a top-tier tycoon. However, for Li Chang'an, he is still very clear about his positioning. With this amount of money, he can be treated like an ancestor in China, especially in the late 1980s. If it were in the United States, perhaps at this stage, the United States would not do much to itself, but the future is hard to say. De Mao and Air Mao clashed, and the US emperor was not hesitant to directly confiscate the wealth of the wealthy De Mao. In addition, there is Zhao Chongping from Binan. When Americans start searching, it's really not ambiguous at all. Of course, such a large amount of money cannot be spent entirely domestically by Li Chang'an. Some necessary investments and equipment purchases are also needed. Jeffrey. Li Chang'an said, among them, $2.3 billion will be transferred to Xiangjiang, and the other $1 billion. I need your help globally to purchase some equipment. In addition, reserve $500 million to boost the Japanese yen. The collapse of the Japanese yen was not until 1990, and now the yen is still constantly appreciating. In these 3 years, it is enough to double its own $500 million. When the yen collapses, I can still reap a heavy harvest. Of course, not a problem. Jeffrey spoke quickly, my dear boss. With a smile on his face, Li Chang'an casually took out a check and handed it to Jeffrey, saying, Jeffrey, this is the dividend for you. Jeffrey took the check and immediately danced, thank you, my dear boss. Li Chang'an didn't give Jeffrey much money, totaling $24 million. However, it is enough for Jeffrey. 3 years ago, he met Li Chang'an and saw his magic. Basically, the stocks he was optimistic about rose, while the companies he was not optimistic about plummeted. Since last year, Jeffrey has been buying stocks with Li Chang'an. Buy up and buy down, never miss out. However, his courage is not as great as that of Li Chang'an. Li Chang'an has enough courage, and with his small and broad, Soho-style gameplay, he often has a leverage of 10 or 20 times. Jeffrey doesn't have the courage, which is only 2 or 3 times the leverage. This time shorting the US stock market, not only did Li Chang'an make a lot of money, but Jeffrey also made a lot of money. The accumulated capital in hand has exceeded $1 billion. $100 million, although 33 times behind Li Chang'an, is also a billionaire. Moreover, this was earned by oneself within these 3 years. It doesn't matter how much Li Chang'an gives, the most important thing is that you can follow him. As long as you completely imitate Li Chang'an, you can also gain a lot of capital. As long as the US emperor has enough capital, it means he has gained power. Moreover, unlike Li Chang'an, Jeffrey is a real white person. The natural advantage lies here. However, it's not urgent yet. Jeffrey admits that Li Chang'an is the kind of genius who can easily earn more wealth with him. The lack of information is more important than any wealth Li Chang'an gives him. At the moment when the US stock market plummeted, Jeffrey decided to do the same thing as Li Chang'an. For Li Chang'an, he was not unaware that Jeffrey was following suit, but he didn't mind either. He didn't mind Jeffrey making big money as long as it didn't interfere with himself. Now he is his subordinate, and if one day he really gets on equal footing with himself, as long as he can bring enough benefits to himself, Li Chang'an is also willing to maintain friendship with him. Dear boss. At this moment, Jeffrey was also extremely excited. Are we going to have a wonderful party? Li Chang'an took a deep look at Jeffrey, and of course he knew what Jeffrey's purpose was. To make big money and run a business. Previously, Jeffrey also did it a few times. For Li Chang'an, it's natural to do as the Romans do when in Rome. At the moment, a smile appeared on his face. My dear Jeffrey, you've arranged it. That night, in a huge estate, a group of beautiful blonde girls, Ying Yen Yen, arrived at the estate. This estate was bought by Jeffrey. Previously, it was used for parties together. Li Chang'an leaned comfortably on the sofa, and then he saw Jeffrey bringing a group of girls to his side. My dear boss. Jeffrey looked at Li Chang'an with a smile and turned to look at the girls behind him. Girls, show your enthusiasm. Mr. Li Chang'an will be your god tonight. Li Chang'an just smiled lightly, and then his gaze swept, but he was slightly stunned. One of the girls looks a bit familiar. Li Chang'an took a closer look. Angelina Jolie. Or Angelina Jolie from Little Loli. Chapter 3.C Cry Our Lady. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 3. Crying Our Lady. Angelina Jolie in front of Li Chang'an. Her age is at most 18 years old. Although she is still a little lowly, her overall temperament and appearance are quite mature. Li Chang'an smiled and pointed to Angelina Jolie. Julie took a deep breath and honestly approached Li Chang'an. Although the man in front of her was yellow, Jeffrey had just said that Li Chang'an was God tonight. A pleasing smile appeared on her face. Hello, Mr. Li. Li Chang'an gently patted the sofa and smiled, saying, sit down. Julie sat next to Li Chang'an, and then wrapped herself around him like a snake, using her body to please Li Chang'an with a hint of shyness. Whether or not to say, this is really a grinding little fairy. Of course, for Li Chang'an, his biggest impression of Julie is her sexy lips, followed by that famous quote. The people here have lost everything, although they have nothing, they are free. But what does this have to do with oneself? Now, as the master, she needs to come and please herself well. It's not an exaggeration to say that even if she had stripped her naked on the spot and engaged in a fierce fight, she had no reason to refuse. Of course, Li Chang'an still cannot engage in this kind of daytime debauchery in public. What does she do? While Julie was going to do pole dancing, Li Chang'an looked at Jeffrey on the side and asked. My dear boss, your vision is unique. She is a model who just debuted this year. Believe me, she is a stunning ingredient. Jeffrey chuckled and said, you will definitely be satisfied. Li Chang'an felt a bit dazed. Julie has not yet entered the entertainment industry. I can only be considered a small model, the kind that just debuted. Until 1992, Julie co-starred with Elias Curtis and Jack Paradise in the science fiction action film Terminator, which was also considered Julie's first film. I just started to venture out at the age of 18. Li Chang'an picked up his whiskey and took a sip, then smiled and said, I'm a bit reluctant to take action. Boss, you can't spoil her, it's her honor. Jeffrey also said, Boss, she hasn't been in New York for long. Now, if she wants to go to the Lee Strasberg Institute of Drama and Film, she will have to pay enough price. Otherwise, why should we give her this opportunity? Li Chang'an glanced at Jeffrey and then at Julie, who was trying her best to please her, and smiled, saying, she's quite ambitious. Jeffrey chuckled and said, this world is like this, it always requires equal exchange. Her family doesn't have money, so they can only exchange it with their own bodies. I completely agree with what you said. Li Chang'an smiled and said. The two of them drank a few more glasses, and after finishing the dance, Angelina Jolie came to Li Chang'an and said, Mr. Li, are you satisfied? Satisfied, don't be too satisfied. Li Chang'an chuckled and took the opportunity to pull Angelina and Julie into his arms. Julie, you really can't tell that you dance so well. Angelina Jolie also felt her heart beating hard. Although Li Chang'an is of the yellow race, after his rebirth, the heavens also endowed him with an extremely powerful physique, and his whole body exuded infinite charm, just like walking hormones. Just getting close to Li Chang'an gave Angelina Jolie a feeling of accelerated heartbeat. Your figure is very good. Li Chang'an commented, do you exercise regularly? Angelina Jolie nodded and said, yes, we exercise regularly. We are models, so we need to maintain our figure well. Miss Julie. Li Chang'an said with a smile, would you like to spend a sleepless night with me? Angelina Jolie's face turned red, and then she spoke with unwavering determination, I can't wait. Li Chang'an chuckled and picked up Angelina Jolie, walking straight towards the luxurious bedroom inside the estate. Angelina Jolie also knew what was going to happen next and wrapped her hands around Li Chang'an's neck. Subsequently, the two of them arrived in a luxurious bedroom. Li Chang'an opened a bottle of whiskey, took a sip, and then transitioned into Angelina Jolie's mouth. Gudong. Angelina Jolie swallowed the whiskey and her face turned even redder. Mr. Li, would you like to take a shower? Of course. Li Chang'an smiled and said, you come and serve me to take a shower. Then, the two of them fought for a whole night. Angelina Jolie cried. This is an indescribable feeling. Li Chang'an is not a question of whether he is strong or not, but rather he is so strong that he has no edge. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Layout of America. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Layout of America. Early morning looking at Angelina Jolie, whose tears have not completely disappeared from her face, to be honest, Li Chang'an really has an indescribable sense of achievement. This great Virgin Mary has been greatly disturbed by herself. Pitying fragrance and cherishing jade is non-existent. What else is worth attracting to this woman besides her beauty? It seems that there really isn't. Just for fun. Don't touch real emotions. Li Chang'an stretched his muscles and bones all over his body, and a carp jumped straight out of the bed. Looking at Angelina Jolie, who was still sleeping, a smile couldn't help but appear on his face. This little girl is pretty good. Before returning to China, she can accompany him well. Subsequently, Li Chang'an began to exercise tirelessly. This has become a fixed habit for him every day. Extremely self-disciplined. With just a little exercise, Li Chang'an can feel an increase in his physical fitness and a stronger airflow in his body. Although this estate was purchased by Jeffrey, in fact, many fitness equipment were made according to Li Chang'an's needs. After some training, Li Chang'an's muscles were trembling slightly all over his body, and he could even feel the density of his muscles increasing, which was unbelievably strong. The airflow in the body is stimulated by training and begins to grow stronger. In turn, it continuously hammers its muscles, passes through its internal organs, and finally slowly settles 3 inches into the lower abdomen. This feeling is somewhat similar to ancient Qigong. When Angelina Jolie woke up, she saw that Li Chang'an had finished training and was taking a shower. When I saw Li Chang'an, I immediately felt my heart beating uncontrollably. Although I also saw Li Chang'an's body last night, after receiving exercise, the visual impact felt even stronger. Why is this muscle line so perfect? This muscle looks so explosive. Angelina Jolie admits that she really can't hold on anymore. Subsequently, she took the initiative to come forward, enduring the discomfort in her body, and once again engaged in a big battle. The iconic building of Wall Street is a copper bull statue that is 5 meters long and weighs 6,300 kilograms, located on Broadway Street. This powerful copper bull seems to symbolize the continuous upward movement of stocks and the flourishing economy. The earliest origin of the term bull market came from here, and later people corresponded the bear that always walks with its head down with the cow, and referred to the market during economic downturns as a bear market. At this moment, Li Chang'an is sitting as the chairman in the conference room of Datang Investment Company, listening to the reports of a group of financial elites below. Mr. Li, stocks of about 10 companies, including Apple, Amazon, and Cisco, have been purchased in large quantities, with a total shareholding of nearly $300 million. Most of them are invested in your personal name, while a small portion are invested in the name of the company. The entire staff of Datang Investment have a great reverence for Li Chang'an. After all, Li Chang'an truly possesses a beautiful knife worth 3.3 billion yuan. On Wall Street, anyone who can throw out billions of dollars is the big shot. Especially now, it's still 1987. Very good, worthy of being an elite member of Wall Street, meeting my requirements in such a short period of time. At this moment, a slightly overweight middle-aged man spoke up and said, "Mr. Li, are you so optimistic about Nasdaq? Is gold falling into technology stocks? You know, not long ago, we encountered a serious US stock market crash." This middle-aged man is William, the head of the American Emperor Tang International Investment, and is a financial veteran who has been working on Wall Street for over 20 years. Under the hands of Li Chang'an, there are still many American imperial workers. Although I have yellow skin, in the capitalist world, who is working for instead of working? Li Chang'an smiled confidently and said, "Let's wait and see. If you don't believe in the US Emperor, who else can you trust? I believe the Nasdaq surge will be the greatest miracle journey in stock history." In addition to these, Li Chang'an also invested in Netscape Company on the way. This is the first internet god stock during the glorious years of the US Nasdaq. Now Netscape Company is still a junior brother, the company has just been established. And in 8 years, in 1995, it will officially be listed on Nasdaq. Li Chang'an saw a ranking list in his last life, which was the ranking list of internet companies in 1995. Apple ranked second, with a market value of only around $4 billion at the time. The first one is newly listed Netscape, with a market value exceeding $5 billion. Before the popularity of IE, Netscape Explorer accounted for 90% of the browser market users, with a peak market value of over $20 billion. Although ultimately dragged down by the financially powerful Microsoft, it is still a miraculous company. Li Chang'an now only needs to invest $10 million to acquire 40% of the equity, and the future profits will be at least $6 billion in return. Completing the layout of Nasdaq cost a total of approximately $500 million, which can be considered a huge investment. In the past few days, Li Chang'an has been spoiling Angelina Jolie every day. This little girl really has some taste for food, but she can't do without Li Chang'an. Chapter 5. Roots correct and seedlings red. You are listening at novel full.audio. Chapter 5. Roots correct and seedlings red. The investment from the US Emperor is still needed. It's no big deal to transfer all of one's assets before Comrade Jiangwo takes office. At this stage, the main focus of the US Emperor is still on Big Brother. When Big Brother collapses, it will be a feeling of standing alone and seeking defeat. Eating is not so unattractive. Now, the US Emperor has not yet fallen into the quagmire of political correctness. By designing a basic framework, at least the film and television industry that I have invested in will not lose money in the next 30 years. And now Angelina Jolie also heavily relies on Li Chang'an. Eating the essence and understanding the taste. Although Li Chang'an basically went whoring for nothing, Jeffrey just said hello and she easily entered the Lee Strasberg Institute of Drama and Film. This period of time has been dedicated to Li Chang'an. Subsequently, Li Chang'an left the US Emperor in comfort. He is still a PhD student at MIT and has just graduated this year. Now is also the time to return to China. However, when Li Chang'an got off the plane, he was greeted by a security guard squad. Their Li family also lived from the founding of the country to the present day. Beijing. After getting off the plane, Li Chang'an doesn't need any time difference, his physical fitness is sufficient. A whole security team came to greet him, and this battle really made Li Chang'an a little flattered. Their Li family is also considered a wealthy family. 10 years ago, Grandpa Li Zhongyuan came out to take charge of work, and now he still occupies a good political ecology. In addition, he successfully stood in line 2 years later, which is so satisfying. Father Li Jianfeng will continue to stay in the military. My father is 47 years old this year, which is a time of prosperity and strength. Father Li Jianfeng is the youngest son of grandfather Li Zhongyuan. Dad also has 2 older brothers, one is Uncle Li Jianhong and the other is Uncle Li Jianjun. Because grandpa is still here, the big family has such a leader, and the relationship between brothers and sisters is okay. However, further down, the relationship became much more indifferent. Grandpa Li Zhongyuan had 3 sons, but there were a total of 11 in his grandchildren. Li Chang'an has 1 older sister and 1 older brother, the older brother is named Li Changxiang, and the second sister is named Li Chang'al. However, Li Zhongyuan's favorite is still Li Changjiang, the eldest son of Uncle Li Jianhong, and Li Changjiang belongs to the type who is promoted very quickly. The entire family resources tilt towards him, and the speed of promotion is naturally fast. By comparison, Li Chang'an is the youngest. However, the relationship with my grandfather is just average. When I was a child, all my energy was focused on studying, and then I went to study in the United States, without any time to interact with my grandfather. Chang'an, have you returned? Big brother Li Changxiang approached Li Chang'an and said, I heard you've made a lot of money in the United States. Li Chang'an smiled and said, it looks like a $3 billion knife. Li Chang'an didn't hide anything. In fact, he had already told his family that he had planned to return to China and invest in China, so there was nothing to hide. Son, you're back. Li Jianfeng also walked over, and then his burly palm patted Li Chang'an's shoulder. You did a good job in the United States, harvesting capitalist wool. Li Chang'an smiled slightly and said, Dad, you're too flattering. Lucky, it's all luck. You make your big brother lucky enough to earn 3 billion, let me see. Li Chang'an looked at Li Changxiang and just smiled, we are in different directions. Not to mention that. Li Jianfeng's face showed a smile, how did he learn at the US Emperor? It's okay. Li Chang'an smiled and said, I just obtained my doctoral degree, and I'm almost there now. I think I'll focus on developing my career in China next. The third one is studying abroad. Li Changxing smiled and said, now that I have returned to my home country, I still have so much capital in my hands. Now that the country advocates for younger cadres, I think if I enter politics, it will definitely be smooth sailing. Your big brother's words also make sense. Li Jianfeng spoke slowly and said, "Son, do you have any plans to enter politics?" "I don't have this idea at the moment. I want to go into business, which is also great." Li Chang'an shrugged. Li Jianfeng and Li Changxiang were momentarily stunned. "I see that our country is also slowly entering marketization." Li Chang'an smiled and said, "I have also figured out a lot of things in the United States. Next, I think my business will bring economic development, and I will also provide a lot of support for my elder brother and the third generation of my family." Li Jianfeng nodded and said, "Your considerations are also reasonable." Although, relying on his family connections, he wants to move forward, which is a very easy thing. However, he is not very interested in politics, has too many constraints, and is easily targeted by others. Anyway, his family relationship is here, what can ordinary people do with him? Secondly, this is the 1980s and 1990s. No one who can make a fortune in this era, to put it bluntly, is pure and pure. It's impossible to expect Li Chang'an to behave properly. Instead of being stared at, it's better not to enter politics and play whatever you want. Why restrain yourself? Chapter 6. The capital in my hand is equal to Huaxia foreign exchange reserve. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 6. The capital in my hands is equal to China's foreign exchange reserves. On the first night back home, Li Chang'an is resting on his big bed. The next day, Li Chang'an saw his grandfather Li Zhongyuan. In addition to Li Zhongyuan, there was also Li Muhua, a prominent figure from the Ministry of Finance, who met not at home but at the Jiangwo Hotel. It can be said that it is quite valued. Jiangwo Hotel can also be considered as the first joint venture hotel in China. Opened in 1982 and renovated in 1999, the hotel features a unique garden style unique to the capital city. It has 9 floors and is equipped with the nationally renowned Jiangwo Western Restaurant Justice, a gym, a swimming pool, and a conference hall that can accommodate over 100 people. Although the renovation has not yet begun, a lot of effort has been put into it. Surrounded by long corridors and small flowing water, it is also unique. It is impossible for China to not value Li Chang'an. In addition to his doctoral degree in the United States, he has also written hundreds of papers. Of course, the most important thing is that he still has a capital of $3 billion in his hands. $3 billion, what does this mean? At present, China's foreign exchange is around 3 billion yuan. The money he earns is almost equivalent to the country's current foreign exchange reserves. Can we not take it seriously? Nowadays, China cannot imagine that in just over 30 years, it will be able to hold trillions of dollars in foreign exchange reserves. This year, Huaxia still sold Dongfeng.3 to dog tycoons, making a huge profit of $3.5 billion. Anyway, the capital in Li Chang'an's hands is highly valued by the Chinese government. With this money, we can better integrate into the world system. Quickly replace industrial equipment during the honeymoon period to facilitate the improvement of the industrial system in the future. Li Zhongyuan also didn't expect that his little grandson, who he didn't attach much importance to, would actually have more than $3 billion in foreign exchange. Currently, China is short of foreign exchange, but so far, Li Chang'an's money has arrived in Xinjiang, not in China. Li Chang'an can still be stable, but he can't sit still in China. Hurry to meet Li Chang'an. Seeing Li Chang'an, Li Muhua first smiled and said, "Father Tiger has no sons. Mr. Li, your family is really talented." Li Zhong's principle was to smile slightly and slowly speak, "That's not." Anyway, Li Chang'an really gave his family a good face. Li Zhongyuan was naturally quite happy to see Li Chang'an, and looking at this great-grandson, he felt more and more pain and love as he looked at him. "I dare not be fooled, I am also cultivated by the country. Li Chang'an spoke with a smile on his face, I am able to have today with the support of the country behind my back. Such an opening statement naturally made the following chat atmosphere extremely friendly. Li Chang'an also roughly explained his next investment plan. Money will come in, but not without any conditions. If you have any difficulties, just let us know. Li Muhua smiled and said, we will help you solve them. Li Chang'an smiled and said, Minister Li, since we have all talked about this, then I won't hide it. I have purchased some equipment from Meidi, which will be shipped back to China. In addition, there is an additional $2 billion. I hope that after my $2 billion enters Huaxia, it won't be exchanged according to the international exchange rate. I hope it can be exchanged according to the actual exchange rate. Li Muhua was somewhat surprised and said, what do you mean by that? Li Chang'an shrugged and said, it's very simple. Currently, the international exchange rate is 3.75 soft sister coins to exchange for $1, but in reality, trading in the black market involves exchanging 10 to 12 soft sister coins for $1. Li Muhua pondered for a moment and nodded, I know the situation you're talking about too. I just hope that after my $200 million bill enters the domestic market, I can exchange it for $1 with 10 yuan of soft coins. Li Chang'an spread his hands and said, this is not a loss for me, otherwise I may face huge losses. Li Muhua frowned, and Li Zhongyuan on one side also hesitated slightly. Are you saying 20 billion? Li Chang'an nodded and said, yes. We need a meeting to discuss your request. Before Li Zhongyuan could speak, Li Muhua spoke on the side. Su Han also knew that this matter was not something that Li Muhua could solve. The banking department also has something to say. After all, this is 20 billion. It's still 20 billion in 1987. This is not a small amount. However, Su Han also has something to say. Anyway, you can't let me suffer too much. 200 billion yuan is nothing more than printing money. In a few years, the domestic exchange rate will depreciate on a large scale, and I really lost a lot at that time. Minister Li. Li Chang'an spoke slowly and said, I strongly support the country's economic development. Here, I also make a promise that no matter what, my $2 billion will enter China and help it complete its economic development. However, I still hope that the country can give me the actual exchange rate. Li Muhua looked at Li Zhongyuan and smiled, saying, I will consider it. Chapter 7. $2 billion for 2 billion soft girl coins. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 7. $2 billion for 2 billion soft girl coins. By the way, Li Muhua said, you want to invest in China, and it's just right. I also want to hear your opinion. Li Chang'an smiled and spoke calmly, Minister Li, I still have a plan on my end. Would you like to take a look? Li Muhua was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, this is quite good. What kind of plan is it? Li Chang'an casually opened the box he was carrying. Li Muhua. He has also seen these Western business plans before. However, what Li Muhua didn't expect was that Li Chang'an's plan was really a thick book. Open it and there is a detailed directory. What are the advantages of China, what is the development strategy, and what is the process of self-industrialization that the U.S. empire is entering? As a newcomer, Li Chang'an naturally knows the future development trend and is well aware of the pros and cons of this process. Many ideas and viewpoints, if placed in the future, are basically analyzed by people as mediocre things. However, in this era, there is a feeling of dimensionality reduction and impact. Li Muhua just looked at the beginning and was completely immersed. It takes 2 to 3 hours. Li Muhua was asking while looking. After a long time, he sighed and looked at Li Zhongyuan, saying, Mr. Li, you have an amazing grandson. Really? Li Zhongyuan touched his chin. He doesn't quite understand these things, but he knows Li Muhua very well. this person has strong abilities, and his praise of Li Chang'an is obviously not just casual, but genuine and heartfelt. At the moment, Li Zhongyuan chuckled and said, "That's good, that's good." Li Muhua stood up and then smiled and said, "Mr. Li, I'll take a step first." At this point, Li Muhua looked at Li Chang'an again and said, "Chang'an, we will also have a meeting to discuss your proposal next, and we will try our best to give you an answer." "No problem." Li Chang'an nodded. As soon as Li Muhua left, there were only two people left. Li Chang'an and Li Zhongyuan. Grandpa. For his grandfather, Li Chang'an really has an indescribable sense of unfamiliarity. I haven't seen this grandfather many times since I was young. Although he only has 3 sons. But there are too many grandchildren to resist. Li Jianfeng alone has 2 sons and 1 daughter. 10 years ago, Li Chang'an also did not see Li Zhongyuan. 10 years later, although Li Zhongyuan began to resume work, he worked a lot and went to the US Emperor 3 years ago, so he had no contact at all. At this moment, it seems a bit unfamiliar. In my impression, Li Zhongyuan is still a very serious person at this moment. Li Zhongyuan looked at Li Chang'an, sighed lightly, and then patted his shoulder, saying, "You did a good job." At noon, the whole family had a meal. Throughout the entire process of eating, there was also a lack of food and sleep. It was not until the afternoon that Li Chang'an returned home. His father had already gone to the military district, and only his elder brother Li Changsheng remained at home. Li Changsheng is currently working as an office director in the capital, while his second sister Li Changle works in a state-owned enterprise, which is relatively idle. She got married a year ago, and now she is working steadily at home to help her husband and children. Chang'an. When Li Changsheng saw Li Chang'an coming back, he immediately leaned in and said, "How did it go? How was the conversation going? I haven't seen my grandfather for a long time. As soon as you come back, my grandfather will see you." TSK, I don't even have this treatment anymore. It's okay too. Li Chang'an spread his hands and smiled, saying, "Grandpa is pretty good." Li Changsheng said, "Are you going to get the money back to China? Our family's identity and background are here." Li Chang'an shrugged his hands and casually said, "I definitely want to get the money back to my home country. Don't worry, I still have this political consciousness. It's just money. When I get it back, it's just a matter of how much soft currency will be given to me domestically." Li Changsheng said, "How much do you want?" Li Chang'an extended 2 fingers. Li Chang'an was taken aback and said, "2 billion. I'm worth $2 billion, you want me to exchange for 2 billion soft girl coins? Do you really think I'm doing charity?" Li Chang'an smiled and said, "What are you joking about? 200. 1 billion. Li Changsheng's voice changed slightly. "Almost." Li Chang'an nodded and said, "What are you doing with so much?" Li Changsheng was shocked. Even for families like them, who cost 20 billion yuan in one breath, he still felt the shock. "Of course it's investment." Li Chang'an shrugged and said, "Big brother, you're going to take up your position in the local government next. I don't have money, how can I support you? How can I support your work? How can I improve your political performance?" Li Changsheng chuckled and then said, "All right, I know you support me, third brother." Li Chang'an said, "By the way, do you know where you're going to take office?" Li Changsheng sighed and spoke helplessly, "Northeast." "Where is Northeast China?" "Hehe City." Li Chang'an was taken aback and couldn't help but say, "Where is the border?" Li Changsheng nodded and said, "Yes. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. If there is no prohibition, it can be done. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. If there is no prohibition, it can be done. After a moment of silence, Li Chang'an slowly spoke up and said, I said, brother, did you offend anyone? I offended people. Li Changxing shrugged and said, no, I went to Heihe to serve as the city leader. The government placed a heavy burden on my shoulders. Can I refuse? Li Chang'an tilted his eyes and looked at Li Changxing. Li Changxing compromised and said, okay, actually, both Li Changjiang and I are old enough. However, when Li Changjiang goes to Zhejiang, our resources are not as good as Li Changjiang's here. I don't care, Heihe City is just Heihe City, and opportunities are in front of us. Many people want them, but we still don't have this opportunity. I'm only 28 this year, and the chance of promotion is still very great. Li Chang'an also knows. Although Heihe is a bit cold and poor, there are still great opportunities for development. Next door is the city of Bravoshinsk, and if we can make some trade from Big Brother, we can definitely make a lot of money. Now Li Changxing is considered to be young and energetic, and he is not yet 30 years old. Even if he has the qualifications to endure for 10 or 8 years, he still has plenty of opportunities for promotion when he is relegated to other places. Brother, since you have made a decision, I won't say much more, but... Li Chang'an paused slightly at this point and continued, do you want to play big and achieve bigger political achievements? Or do you want to develop steadily and steadily? Li Changxing was taken aback and said, do you mean there is something in your words? It's been almost 10 years since we opened it again. Li Chang'an took a deep breath and slowly spoke up, I see that according to this trend, the speed of reform will become faster, the more daring it is, and the more it can create economic benefits, the easier it is to get the favor of the higher-ups. I won't say much about these words, everything will be centered on economic construction. Li Changxing nodded and said, of course I know what you're saying. What exactly do you mean? Li Chang'an continued, you know, Big Brother. Their supplies are severely scarce now, and their heavy industry is very developed, but their light industry is very poor. And now, one of the problems we face domestically is overcapacity. If we can sell our excess production capacity to Big Brother, what do you think? Li Changxing frowned and slowly spoke, do you mean there are some rules and restrictions, and you need to be more daring? What I mean is, it can be done without any prohibition by law. Li Chang'an smiled and said, Big Brother, I won't say any more unnecessary nonsense. If you want to improve your qualifications, I won't say much. I will consider starting a business with you and steadily creating political achievements for you. At this point, Li Chang'an paused and said, but if you really want to make it bigger and completely develop the economy of Heihe, you need to have more courage. Li Changxing pondered for a moment before slowly speaking, can you tell me in detail what you plan to do? I plan to acquire some state-owned enterprises, mainly some food companies in Heihe, such as canned food processing plants and liquor companies, etc. I want to acquire all of them. After a pause, Li Chang'an continued, in terms of price, I can give the government a reasonable and fair price. In addition, it's about the product sales channels. How to establish trade with Big Brother. I will solve these problems. Private enterprises acquiring state-owned enterprises. Li Changxing took a deep breath and said, you're not as bold as ordinary. Li Chang'an smiled and said, which law says that I cannot acquire? Li Changxing was stunned and said, well, it seems like there really isn't one. That's it. Li Chang'an shrugged and said, can you say I'm breaking the law? If private enterprises acquire state-owned enterprises in a few years, it is not a problem at all, even if it does not cost money. The government is really eager to shake off the burden and hurry. However, the problem now is that this is 1987, which is equivalent to pioneering. This year is the first year of private enterprises. It's just a joke that private enterprises are just taking the initiative to acquire state-owned enterprises. If Li Changxing allows such a thing to happen, it would definitely be a great violation of the world. Especially, Li Chang'an is still Li Changxing's younger brother. Li Changxing thought for a moment and said, I also need to consider this matter. To do well, it goes without saying that Li Changxing can definitely rise to prominence and accumulate strong political capital, but if he doesn't do it well, his political career will come to an end. Li Chang'an nodded and said, you're right to consider it. Actually. Li Changxing laughed and slowly spoke up, I'm also waiting. Wait. Li Chang'an hesitated slightly. What are you waiting for? I'll see if the country will exchange your $2 billion for $20 billion in soft currency. If they agree, then. Li Changxing smiled and said, I dare to do it. If it doesn't work, I'll be honest and stable. Wise idea. Li Chang'an laughed. 10 days later. Li Chang'an received a call from Li Muhua. Chang'an, we had a meeting to discuss and made a decision to offer you an exchange rate of 1 to 10, and give you 20 billion soft coins. Chapter 9. 20 billion received, Datang Group. You are listening at novel full.audio. Chapter 9. 20 billion received, Datang Group. The leaders of the capital have actually had internal discussions. The final conclusion is to give. Anyway, this soft girl coin is also being spent domestically, and no matter how much Li Chang'an spends, it stimulates domestic consumption. Moreover, the senior management in Beijing is also conducting evaluations internally. Is it true to let the soft currency depreciate strictly according to the real exchange rate? After all, at the current exchange rate, Huaxia is indeed at a loss. However, there are two main topics for discussion. One is to directly devalue with determination, and the other is to gradually devalue. There is still quite a heated debate on this point. The final choice was rapid depreciation, which occurred in 1994. After the rapid depreciation, there was indeed a lot of commotion and turmoil for 2 to 3 years. In the end, we overcame the difficulties before the 1997 financial crisis. At this moment, Li Muhua agreed, which really excited Li Chang'an. Good Li Chang'an's face showed a smile. Minister Li, thank you very much. Li Muhua laughed heartily and said, Chang'an, I have also read these business plans of yours and they are very good. I also hope that you can make greater contributions to the economic development of China. Li Chang'an nodded and said, I will. I took a slight breath. Li Chang'an arrived at the courtyard and stretched his muscles and bones, starting his daily exercise. During this time, spring had just begun, and the entire capital was still unusually cold. However, Li Chang'an was one of those with an amazing physique. Basically, it is already possible to avoid the invasion of extreme heat. Training has ended. Li Chang'an couldn't help but sigh. Living at home is really inconvenient. Anyway, the 20 billion yuan soft money has already come down, so I can arrange for these 20 billion yuan and buy a super large courtyard house to carry with me for renovation and renovation. Otherwise, at home, I really feel uncomfortable all over. After stretching his muscles and bones, Li Chang'an spoke up, Mayan. Then a woman dressed in a lady's suit came to Li Chang'an, with short hair in her ears and a delicate makeup, looking sharp and capable. This is my female secretary. At the beginning, he also studied abroad, but later he was absorbed into his team by Li Chang'an. His abilities were also quite good, and he always worked as a secretary with Li Chang'an. Boss. Mu Yan quickly approached Li Chang'an. How is the company registered? Li Chang'an took a towel from Mu Yan's hand and casually asked. Registration has ended. Mu Yan spoke quickly, Datang Group, our registration location is temporarily located in the Virgin Islands. For now, we are still operating in China as foreign investors. Li Chang'an nodded and said, it's okay. Although the background of one's own family is here, in the 1980s and 1990s, it was indeed very useful to wear the guise of foreign investment. When will the equipment purchased overseas arrive? Does Jeffrey have any news to provide? Li Chang'an asked. At present, some of the equipment has been negotiated, and there is still another part that Jeffrey is working hard. Mu Yan quickly spoke up, taking out a report. So far, 60% has been completed. If there are no major issues, we should be able to have all of them in place this year. Li Chang'an nodded and said, okay, I roughly know. This batch mainly imports high-precision industrial machine tools, in addition to high-precision equipment, CNC machine tools and other products. Huaxia is currently experiencing overcapacity, but mainly low-end industrial products. If you want high-end industrial products, you still need to continue to work hard. Li Chang'an's main focus is on both electronic products and the automotive industry. These are not urgent. There's one more thing. Li Chang'an spoke slowly, you need to arrange someone to go to northeast China, which is Heihe. Conduct a thorough investigation and see what industries and industrial chains there are in Heihe. Next, we may need to make some investments in northeast China. Mu Yan was taken aback and said, northeast. Li Chang'an nodded and said, yes, it's northeast China. This. Mu Yan hesitated for a moment before saying, I'm afraid it's not very easy to do. Of course I know it's not easy to do. Li Chang'an shrugged, there's no way, but as long as the situation opens up, I don't think the problem is big. Go and do it well. After a pause, Li Chang'an continued, also, let me schedule an appointment with my uncle's eldest son, Li Changjiang. Li Changjiang and Li Changsheng are both expatriates. However, the treatment is different. Li Changsheng went to northeast China and Heihe, while Li Changjiang went to Zhejiang and Hangzhou. Li Chang'an couldn't possibly have placed his own electronic equipment factory in northeast China. It's a nightmare for electronic devices in this icy and snowy world, and he had to go find Li Changjiang. They are all our own brothers. I can help you and also improve your political performance. What are you unwilling to do? We cannot be hostile towards Li Changjiang just because he has good political resources. This is a pure and flawed behavior. Chapter 10. Large-scale acquisition of state-owned enterprises. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Chapter 10. Large-scale acquisition of state-owned enterprises. Changjiang brother. Li Chang'an smiled and poured a cup of tea for Li Changjiang. The faint aroma of tea permeates everywhere. Li Chang'an is about to move to Zhejiang, and he will directly serve as the head of Hangzhou or the provincial capital. The economy in the south is relatively developed, so the starting point is naturally higher than that of Li Changsheng. However, Li Changjiang doesn't have as much of a blind eye towards Li Chang'an. Damn it, the total amount of foreign exchange in China is just over $3 billion. Li Chang'an can earn you over $3 billion with his own abilities. This skill Li Changjiang is admirable. Electronic devices, do you want to build a factory in Hangzhou? Li Changjiang looked at Li Chang'an in surprise. Li Chang'an nodded and then smiled, saying, mainly electronic devices. In addition, my plan is to develop some electronic device brands, whether in China or abroad, to do a good job in sales. Li Changjiang pondered for a moment before saying, what do you need? Earth. Li Chang'an spoke bluntly, I need to recruit workers when I open a factory, and this person is definitely indispensable. Follow this number. As he spoke, Li Chang'an opened 5 fingers. 5,000 people. Li Changjiang asked tentatively. 50,000 people. Li Chang'an smiled and quickly spoke up, this is just the early stage. In the later stage, my plan is to build a super factory in Hangzhou. Brother, we are all our own people. Don't worry, I will definitely prioritize investing in our own brothers. If you can help, I will definitely be there to help. Li Changjiang realized that having such a younger brother in the family was really a remarkable thing. Okay. Li Changjiang thought for a moment and said, on the land side, I'm sure it's not a big problem for me, but I'll go to Hangzhou at least in May. Then I'll start after May. Li Chang'an smiled and said, don't worry, brother. Your collection belongs to me, and I definitely won't give it to anyone else. Li Changjiang was quite curious and said, what are you planning to do? VCD disc player. Li Chang'an smiled slightly and said, I have registered patent rights for everything in Meidi, mainly a movement and chip. I have also overcome technical difficulties here. Believe me, this is a thing that is popular worldwide. Li Changjiang doesn't understand, but he still has a sense of trust in Li Chang'an. After all, he can really bring in a profit of $3 billion. Li Chang'an briefly described it, and Li Changjiang reacted, isn't this just a videotape? Almost the same, mainly due to higher specifications, followed by greater portability. Li Chang'an smiled and said, and there are other things that I am planning to develop, striving for more miniaturization and portability. After chatting for a while, Li Chang'an stood up and said goodbye. On the other end, Lichangsheng has also arrived in Hehe City. At this moment, Hehe City is still in a snowy and icy land. Heilongjiang is the northernmost province in the country, and Hehe can almost be considered one of the northernmost cities in the country. Ice and snow. The ice and snow cover can last for almost 180 days, which is equivalent to half a year. As soon as Li Changsheng's front foot came over, Li Chang'an's back foot followed suit. When he saw Li Changsheng, this guy was stomping his feet in cold and trembling in front of a fireplace. Although he had made good psychological expectations, Li Changsheng still didn't expect it to be so cold here. Li Chang'an was not afraid of the scorching heat, but Li Changsheng couldn't. At this moment, Li Chang'an was still holding a plan book in front of Li Changsheng. This is an investigation report for Hehe City. There are 12 canning factories, 1 steel factory, and 2 machinery factories. I have seen that this machinery factory used to produce missiles, but now it is considered a military-civilian conversion. There are 2 fertilizer factories, 16 liquor production companies, and 1 factory that is producing liquefied gas tanks. Li Chang'an smiled and said, and there are all these miscellaneous things, including stationery production, agricultural tool production, and a car production factory. However, they are already very old. As he spoke, Li Chang'an raised 3 fingers and said, my plan is to fully acquire 300 million soft sister coins. 3 billion soft girl coins. Li Changsheng hesitated slightly and said, I thought it was 3 billion. What are you thinking? Li Chang'an shrugged and said, 300 million, I've already paid a premium. If you don't believe me, go ask, how much is this scrap metal worth? Li Changsheng asked, so, how do you arrange the workers? Basically, I will keep everything I can use. Li Chang'an shrugged and said, you can rest assured of this. Li Changsheng nodded and said, okay, I'll arrange it, mainly on the sales side. First of all, I need to integrate resources. Li Chang'an shrugged and smiled, then, let me judge what to do. Don't worry, there will definitely be good sales. If this sales cannot be achieved, I will pay for everything myself. Even if I lose money, I won't delay your political achievements, brother.